I was ready to start, guys.
Okay, so what we're learned until now, we're learning about David HaMelech and the Chet of David HaMelech, and how there was a revelation, a retroactive revelation about who David HaMelech really was when the gates of the Beis HaMikdash opened. And the key sentence here, and then we'll go further, is that what was the Gilui? Ki nisgala oz, you find the place, Ki nisgala oz shahaya David b'chasadim hakedoshim shi avas HaKadosh Baruch Hu b'Yisrael. The Gilui of the opening of the doors of the Beis HaMikdash was a revelation that David HaMelech's Ahava was Avas HaKadosh Baruch Hu b'Yisrael. That his Ahava was a true love of God and Israel. V'loi mashma, that there's another kind of Ahava, says Reb Tzadok. There's another kind of Ahava. A person can be a big Baal Chesed and have a lot of Ahava, but that's an Avas Rois Hanimshach Mechasodim Deklipa. Somebody can be like a really nice person and do like a benevolent dictator of sorts, and really do a lot of chesed and have a lot of ava, but somehow or another that ava is coming from the klipa. So everybody saw the ava of David HaMelech. Everybody saw that he was up in the early morning paskening shilos, and what he was doing for Klal Yisrael was a selfless person. When he did the avera of the chet of Bathsheba, so it was, you see, he's in it for himself. So now, nobody can deny the Ava of David HaMelech, but what they were saying is that it's the Ava of the Klipa. It's not a kosher Ava. It's like, not every Ava is coming from Kedusha. When the doors of the Beis HaMikdash opened, so that it was a Gilui, that the Ava was an Ava of Kedusha, not an Ava of Klipa. Okay. And at that point, Az Hishchiru Pnei Soinov Keshulei HaKedera, which he's going to explain a little later, so I'm not even going to do that. I want to do something else now. But at that point, the Lashon of the Gemara is very, very interesting. It doesn't say they all turned white, they all turned black. It's a interesting thing. At that moment, when David HaMelech was vindicated, Az Hishchiru Pnei Soinov Keshulei HaKedera. All of his enemies, their faces became blackened like the burnt part of a pot. That's a strange description of people being proven wrong. Freya. So keep that in mind. And here we go into another Yesod, we'll come back to that. Ki yadua, it is known, Dehayofi, when it comes to beauty, and that's really what I want to discuss here for a few minutes. Beauty. Yofi. Ki yadua Dehayofi hu bahagdoras hatayvos. That beauty is a description of someone who controls their mugdar, they control their taiva. Taiva is, I'm all over the place, anything goes, right? I want this, I want that, there's no thought for anything, no thought for health, no thought for your shemayim, no thought for the other person. I'm a taiva, I'm a Baal taiva. So it's the ultimate hispashtus. Mugdar, a taiva, means, not that I don't have any taivas, but my taivas are controlled, contained, they have some kind of a system to them. There's a derech here with my taivas, so that's called a mugdar b'taivas. Here he's saying in Yesod, ki yadua, that it's well known, the hayofi, then when we talk about beauty, new concept, hu bahagdaras hataivas, this yofi that we're talking about here is hagdaras hataivas, is when a person's taivas are not batal, but they're in check. David HaMelech is looming in the background here, but let's understand the concept. Kemoshe darshu, like we see the Gemara says, Hevel hayofi, well, quote a Gemara, Hevel hayofi, from Eshes Chayil, Zeboaz. Okay. Lo nimsa b'Torah shevach yofi b'ish, the only ish that's called yofi, Sarah is called yofi, but the only ish that's called yofi is Yosef. Lo masinu, lo nimsa b'Torah shevach yofi b'ish, rak b'Yosef hatzadik. Why? Shahaya mugdar b'taivas, because he was a yofi, because he was able to, he had a taiva, and he had an opportunity, and it was a fire burning. But nevertheless, he was in control.
Why is that Yaffi?
Why is that Yaffi? He was Mugdar B'Taivus, Kihu Sherish Kedushas HaYisai Sheniskala Ba'olam. What's important to understand here is that Yosef HaTzadik, Alei Shur, that part is Yosef Alei Shur. Rashi says that the women used to line up to look at Yosef. Beautiful guy. I mean, must have been a stunning person, right? So, he was a beautiful person, but he was so the opportunity was even greater. But he was Mugdar B'Taivus, and what happened there in the Bria, if you watch the whole Bria from Bereshis Bar Elokim, through Noah, through Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov, Yosef, right? Avram is Chesed, Yitzchak is Gvura, Yaakov is Tiferes, Yosef, Midas HaYisai. Midas HaYisai means that you take all of that Kedusha from the Shemayim and you plant it in the ground. So it means that you could have a lot of very frum people or philosophical people, but when you're in the room alone with a gorgeous woman, so like where'd the philosophy go? Tomorrow. So Midas HaYisod is where heaven touches earth. It's very, very real. My Yer Shemayim is very, very real. That's Midas HaYisod. And what Yosef did, we don't find it before that, is he had such a tremendous taiva. We're not saying he didn't have a taiva, such an immense taiva, an immense opportunity with no chance of getting, from his point of view at that point, no chance of like getting in trouble or reputation, no scandals there. It was a true taiva, and he was Mugdar B'Taiva. So since he was Mugdar B'Taiva, he brought the Midas HaYisod into this world. That's what Yisod means. That's where it happened. Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov, Chesed, Gvura, Tiferes, Netzach, Hod, Yehuda, Binyamin, and Yisod.
He was down to earth.
Brought it into the earth, and now there's a Midas HaYisod in the world. Yisod comes right before what? Malchus. And it brought him to his Malchus. The Midas HaYisod brought him to his Malchus. We still haven't explained why that's called Yoffi. What does it have to do with Yoffi? So let me just show you the quote here from the Gemara, Hevel HaYofi, which sounds like the opposite, right? Hevel, we're now saying Yofi is some kind of a good thing that Yosef had. And now we're saying Hevel HaYofi. So the Gemara says like this. The Gemara says, this is the actual Lashon of the Gemara. For Shmuel, this is in Sanhedrin Chaf Amud Aleph. Amar Rabbi Shmuel bar Nachman. Amar Rabbi Yonason. My deceive Sheker Achein Vevel HaYofi. What did Shlomo HaMelech mean when he said Sheker Achein Vevel HaYofi? I always found it very unusual that Minhag Yisrael to look at your wife straight in the eyes and on Friday night and say to her, "Beauty is vain." Just stupid. Isha Yeres Hashem Yitzhak. Just always hit me as a Sheker Achein, my deceive. So what do we mean when we say Sheker Achein Vevel HaYofi? So says Reb Shmuel bar Nachman in the name of Rabbi Yonason, Sheker Achein Ze Yosef, not Yofi. Hevel HaYofi Ze Boaz. Boaz was also in a place of temptation. Yeres Hashem Hitisalo Ze Palti Ben Layish, we learned a lot about. No Atzcherev. So, according to this, Hevel HaYofi, Sheker Achein Ze Yosef, Hevel HaYofi Ze Boaz. Is Yofi a good thing or is Yofi a bad thing? Good thing. Why? Sheker Achein. Hevel HaYofi.
If you're having it to Yosef and to Boaz.
What? What do we say? Sheker Achein Hevel HaYofi. We're saying it's a negative thing.
Then if you're having to these people who will
Right, but how does it? But Mikum decides. If it's a negative thing, why is it Yosef? And Yosef was attributed with Yofi.
Because it's the epitome of it.
Seder.
Of the correct way of it.
Savior. So what's the pasuk? Shaker Achei, the Hevel HaYofi. Don't even think about Chei. That's Shaker. Hevel HaYofi. Yofi is total shtus. Zu Yosef, Zu Boaz. Then what? Yosef was an Ish Yaffa. David HaMelech was Yafei Einayim. David HaMelech was a Yafei Einayim. Zehu. We said, Zehu, the pasuk said. This is the one, the Yaffa. So let me attempt to explain this. I mean, we're getting it, we're not getting it. It's like coming at us in two ways over here. We say as follows. We say Shachris, right? Emes v'yatzi v'nachon v'kaya v'yasher v'nemon v'ahu v'chavi v'nechma v'nayra v'adir v'psuka v'kubal v'toy v'yafeh. That's a lot of midos. Important here, starts with Emes v'yatzi v'nachon v'kaya v'yasher. V'yafeh, ends with Yofi. So Emes, the pshat in this tefillah is that Emes is the most pnimi of all of the midos of this world. Emes mi'aretz titzmach. And Yofi is the most external. So if you're going on a journey here, it's Emes v'yatzi v'nachon v'kaya v'yasher v'nemon. So what do we say? Shazivug yala yafa. This is the bracha you always get. So zivug yala yafa. So the pshat is that the yafa incorporates the Emes v'yatzi v'nachon v'kaya v'yasher v'nemon v'chav v'nechma v'nayra v'adir v'psuka v'kubal. You write a book on every one of those virtues, but the point I'm making starts from Emes and it goes to Yofi. Now, what's important here is that Emes is where you start at the Zivug. That's the first date. Then you go to V'yatziv, then V'nachai, Kaya V'yasher, until you come to Yofi. L'chayra, it should work the other way around, that the Yofi is the first thing you see. Now it's interesting that when Moshe was born, it says when Moshe Rabbeinu was born, it says Vayarki Tovu. There's different pshatim in the Medrash that he was Nolan Mahul, the room filled up with light, all kinds of things. You look at this Farna, he brings up a Medrash Chazal that the Pshitas Hadvarim is that he was a very beautiful kid. He was just very beautiful. So. What a beautiful baby. Wonderful. So why is this even mentioned in the Torah? That Kitovu, that he was beautiful. So Chazal are muchrach to come and say, well, look, the room filled up with light, which are shver. Those are very difficult concepts, that he was born with this, radiance, with this light, with this nevuah, nolan mahul. To me, that's a difficult concept. That he was beautiful. So, but what's the point of being beautiful? What's the pshat is that, and there it says Tov, by the way. Emes v'yatziv v'nachon v'kaya v'yasher v'tov v'yafeh. It's right before Yafeh comes Tov. The pshat is, I think, like we learned a few weeks ago from the Malas HaTorah, that's the brother of the Gra, brought from the Vilna Gaon, from his brother, that the way the creation works is that HaKadosh Baruch Hu creates a neshama, and all of our neshamas, and the neshama has a particular purpose in this world, a particular tafkid in this world, and then HaKadosh Baruch Hu is malabesh that neshama with whatever it needs to be able to accomplish its goal. So if it's malabesh the neshama with the goof, and the goof has certain costs, so some people are more muscular than others. Some people are smarter than others. Some people are more intuitive than others. Everybody has a different koch. Every animal has a different koch, right? Animals can run faster than men. They're stronger than men. Many of them, they can live underwater. So the goof is machaseh the neshama, but it's mashamish the neshama, meaning that Kadosh Baruch Hu, it's like, you can imagine like all the neshamas standing in line, getting their armor and their ammunition that they need to get through this war, and every neshama is going to get something a little bit different. Your You're in the sand, you'll need these kind of glasses. You're in the Navy, you're going to need these kind of weapons. You're going to need this kind of training. That's the goof. Mamela comes out that says Reb Tessler brings this Malos HaTorah. Mamela comes out that we don't understand so much about our neshamas, but you can't go to a doctor and find out about your goof. You can't look in the mirror and find out about your goof. So check out your goof, and then you can work backwards and find out what's going on inside your neshama by the kochos you have. Huge yisod. When Moshe was born, and they saw that he was a tov, and this Farnay says it means he was beautiful. It was beautiful. So they understood that yesh bazeh bashu. There must be this Yaffi must be the end of a very, very deep neshama. Now, Slav Dafka, there's a whole Hollywood, which Yaffi doesn't seem to be indicative of a very beautiful neshama, or maybe not. Maybe it's not so simple. But let's just leave Hollywood on the side for a second. You see, for instance, just important Yisoid. I just want to get this Yisoid out today. You see, for instance, Avram Avinu. Avram Avinu came to Mitzrayim. What did he say about his wife Sarah? Ato yadati isha yifas mara'at. Chazal say, Rashi brings, Ato yadati. Right now I know that you're a beautiful woman. Not only was she beautiful, but according to the way Chazal understand this, she was Malkat HaYofi. Literally, Sarah means a Malka. So she was a beauty queen. Something extremely unusual. But Ati Adati, Rashi says that until now I never thought that you were so beautiful. Only now we came to Mitzrayim, I thought that you're beautiful. Why does he chap us in Mitzrayim? It's application.
She was how by the way?
The Mitzrayim then.
What?
The Mitzrayim rather.
Actually, Mitzrayim was that would make sense, but Mitzrayim was considered the most.
No, but Rashi, I think Rashi said that
in comparison, no, Rashi a little bit but compared to Sarah, all the Mitzrayim were kikoif b'fnei Adam. So they were all kikoif b'fnei Adam. Doesn't mean that they were ugly. It just means that she was so outstandingly beautiful. But he only chapped it now after so many years. He only chapped now that she was beautiful. So the Svarim explained as follows: that Avraham Avinu, his mita was a mita of Emes. He discovered Hashem. Emes is Bashabayim. Emes is a very sort of a esoteric, cerebral, Emes, mathematical truth. It's not. Yaffi is the exact opposite of that. Yaffi is very difficult to be magdir. Yaffi. Sometimes people have, by all calculations, they're beautiful. They really look pretty ugly. And sometimes, like the world has had to come out to concepts like beauty is in the eyes of the beholder. I happen to find not that I look so much, but I happen to find the Hollywood beauties as ugly. My personal taste, I guess. But the point is that Yaffi and Emes are like two sides of the scientific cerebral spectrum, because Emes is completely documentable. Completely, Emes is Emes. You can prove Emes. Emes can be seen in a laboratory. And Yaffi is really the opposite of that. Right? It's completely subjective. So, beauty to the eyes of the beholder. So what happens is that Avraham Avinu was the Ish Emes, and he marries the beauty queen of the world, and he wasn't holding there. Meaning, Yaffi meant nothing. It wasn't something that was even recognizable to Avraham Avinu until he got there. So he worked from Emes to Yatziv, V'nachar, V'kaya, V'yasher, V'nemon, V'ahu, V'chavi, V'nechman. He was working into this world, because what's good is Emes if you can't bring it into me to say Yisai? What good is Emes if you can't bring it into this world? What good is it? What good is it? People can have Emes and be horrible human beings because tomorrow. It's not something that I'm living by. So in a certain way, if you understand it, Emes, if you understand it correctly, the Emes is the beginning and Yaffi is the total permeation of that Emes into this world. That's where it comes to bear. So Yaffi is Midas HaYisod. Yaffi is where it comes out. So what Avraham Avinu was saying is that Ata Yadati, that now I know Ki Isha Yifas Marat. When I come to Mitzrayim, the challenge of coming to Mitzrayim for Avraham Avinu was having to deal with the very, very real and practical parts of this world. Mitzrayim. That was the superpower of the world, the beauty of the world. I think according to one day of the Medrash, Tisha K'av and Yaffi came to Mitzrayim. So he had to deal with a real world, right? He went to Manhattan. Avraham Avinu goes to Manhattan. So here we have a situation. So it's really something which is at a very, very high level. This is not my turn, but always the turn is our resell. Coming down for a landing, and when it comes down for a landing, he looks at his wife and he says, you are really like beautiful. You're really beautiful, and the whole Mitzrayim is about beauty. The whole Mitzrayim is about beauty, and Paro of Mitzrayim said, "Oh, beautiful! This is beautiful." So that's the. I just let me move away from this for 1 second. Noah's 3 sons, Shem, Ham, Yafes. So Yafes. So Yafes is Yaftel Likim Yafes. Hashem gave beauty to Yafes. Nice. We don't find that Yafes, and particularly the Greeks, were Mugdar B'Taiva. So what does it mean? Where it says Ein Yafel Avisha Mugdar B'Taiva. Says Reb Sada. If you're controlled, you're Yaffi. Where's the control of the Yaftel Likim? Where's the control of the Yafes? And for the Gemara, Basa Yaf Yafusai Shal Yafes. When is Yafes beautiful? Kishi Yishkoin Ba'al Le'Shem. Meaning, Yaftel Likim Yafes v'Yishkoin Ba'al Le'Shem. That was the bracha of Noah. Basa, the Gemara teaches. Basa Yaf Yafusai Shal Yafes. When is Yafes really beautiful? Really, we say Havala Yofi. Because Isha Yuras Hashem Hitisalo. If it has some shame behind it. So if there's a combination, this is going to be a beautiful building, right? Beautiful Greek architecture building. In fact, what good is it if there's nothing going on inside? It's as good as a very beautiful woman with nothing. Isha Yafa Saras Tam, it says in Pirkei Avos, right? Kenezem Zahav Ma'af Chazir, says Shlomo Ki Isha Yafa Saras Tam. What good is it to have that chitzonius if there's Saras Tam, if there's nothing deep going inside? So the pshat is that Yafes is only Yafes Masai, babish like that. Masai Yaf Yafusay Shal Yafes. When is Yafes beautiful? Because she Yishkoin when it partners up with shame. So now I have Emes Yatzav Ad Emes. So this is where Avraham Avinu came to when he got to Mitzrayim. Whoa, I'm going from the most esoteric, child seeing the sunrise, seeing this is where Avraham Avinu just started. That's not where he ended, as giving discovery seminars about the truth of God and the Emes of God. That's where he started. That's not where he ended. Where he ended with was a beautiful wife, meaning that was the same beauty that they saw in Moshe Rabbeinu when he was born. That wow, there must be something here very, very deep, which is very, very, very potential. By the way, Yitached, I don't want to say anything wrong, that Taka, the beauty queens of this world, have a lot of potential. Just because they don't use it for the right way. I mean, look at the power of hashpah that they have on millions of people. Look at the talent. Just because they don't use it for the right way doesn't mean that it's not there. It could be that beauty, it could be the right thing to say to the beauty queen is, you have. There's a little video on YouTube you can watch it of Miss Israel, the beauty queen, coming for a bracha to the Lubavitcher Rebbe. Some people Google the beauty queen. Some people go to Google the Lubavitcher Rebbe. Okay. So, but here's the kesher, right? Yaftel kibla yefes v'yishkoy ba'alei shem. So she says to the Rebbe, you watch this 2-minute video. She says to the Rebbe that she wants a bracha. So the guy next to her says, "This is Miss Israel." So the Lubavitcher Rebbe said to her, "Sheker achein v'hevel hayofi." Exactly his words. Isha yiras Hashem hitisao. She's like, "Ma." She said, and he said these words. He said like exactly what I'm saying here. I'm speaking to Eliezer. that the yofi is only a yofi if there's an isha yiras Hashem hitisao. Lubavitcher's vart. The yofi is a yofi if it's isha yiras Hashem hitisao. So it means to say that anybody can write a check for $1 million to tzedakah. Anybody. The trick is, can he cover the check? So the yofi is a beautiful check, nice check. It's a nice check. Yeah, take a picture of it, hang it on the wall. Throw it into it's like they say that the guy comes to a funeral and he feels bad that he never paid back his $10,000 to the guy who died. So he said, "I'm going to do tshuva." And he writes a check for $10,000 and he puts it into the kever. Hevel HaYofi. That's the pshat in Hevel HaYofi. Sheker achein and Hevel HaYofi. The pshat is taka. Sheker is taka Hevel. If it stands alone, without the Emes behind him. So the whole point of Avraham Avinu was that he had the Emes, and he did have the Emes, and the Yatziv, and the Nachat, and the Gaim. He had everything, and now he brought it to a place of Yofi. Ata Yadati. Only now do I understand that you're a Yaffi. You're a Yaffi, and we're in the place of Yofi. Mitzrayim is the place of Yofi. So Paro takes in Sarah Vayinaga. He's unable to, at the end, he's unable to relate to this beauty. Because the beauty of Sarah was a beauty that had to be, it was a check that had to be covered. It was a yofi that needed backing. It didn't work for Paro. Well, it's right. It worked for Avraham Avinu, but it didn't work for Paro. Important Nakuda of Yofi. So, once heard like this, that Yofi is spelled into her Yud, Pei Yud. Emes is Emes. Who's good at these things? The Yofi and Emes add together, you get Yisrael.
Take your word for it.
No, it's no problem.
541.
Do the math. Gil, for the math. Do the math, huh?
441 plus 82.
So this is
Yisrael is Emes and Yofi.
541.
Without a vav, huh?
541.
541.
Together.
It seems this is then part of Avram Avinu's journey, why he's sent to Mitzrayim.
541.
Why he's sent to Mitzrayim is would he been able to understand Yofi in this way without having?
Me'achus, that's what I'm saying.
But it also seems for us personally, even that our journey to our lives in Chutz La'aretz, to experience
The Yofi.
that Yofi and now be able to now process that in a derech of kedusha.
Except we're going the wrong direction.
Well, I'm saying we're here.
This is the point is that the Yofi is right, exactly right. It's extremely relevant to our lives that we've been given a taste since we're children. If you grew up in America in particular, given a taste to Yofi, and it's almost everything. It's almost everything. It's the styles, it's the billboards, it's the advertisements, it's the TV show. Plastic world. Plastic world. I think most of us moved to Eretz Yisrael to get rid of the plastic world. People became Bali Jews to get rid of the plastic.
Get rid of the plastic, not get rid of the Yofi.
So the
derech kedusha and derech avodi here in the Yofi.
The plastic is good if it works. That's the plastic is good if it works. The plastic. the plastic onto itself is a chesaron. The plastic covered by real substance.
It's a good wrapping plan.
It's a good wrapping thing. So this is the pshat, sheker achein. We have a deep shot in sheker achein vehevel hayofi isha yiras elikim hitisalo. And now we can understand that Yosef was both ish yafeh, like matzinu yafeh ba'anoshim ela b'Yosef, lashon of Chazal. We only find yafeh by men by till that point. David HaMelech, it says that he was Yafei 9. It's also interesting. Zehu. Zehu. But the part of Yosef which was Yafeh was that he was a Yafeh, but it was all the way covered all the way from Emes on, because he had the midas of the Avos of Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov. So the Hevel HaYofi, he proved that Yofi just as a standalone item is Hevel. Sheker.
The chen that's Yosef and then Yaffi that's Boaz. What's the distinction between the two?
Okay, so that needs to be understood. But you understand that Sheker is the opposite of Emes. Sheker hachen, Hevel hayofi. I mean, even in the Aleph base, Emes is Aleph, Mem, Tav, and Sheker Kushin Resh. Right? It's very much at the end. It's very much at the end. Kushin Resh. It needs an Aleph base. It's not a holistic. A sheker can't be holistic, but it could be beautiful. It could be pretty, but is it really pretty? It's really not pretty. It's only beautiful if it has substance behind it. So that's the bracha of Hazivug Yali Yaffa. I just want to say something. That's the Pashup Shah. I just want to say something a little bit deeper here. In the Sifrei Kabbalah, it tells us that whenever you see a davar, which is really the same thing, just really in different words, whenever you see a davar yafa, it means that there's nitzotzos of kedusha which are hidden within. So say the Sifrei Kabbalah. There's nitzotzos of kedusha which are hidden within and it becomes the job to be megala those nitzotzos and give meaning to the yofi. So same idea. The Yosef's brothers came to Mitzrayim, so Yosef said to them that you came to see the Ervas Haaretz. It's like a pretty crazy claim. You came for food. You came to see the Ervas Haaretz. Meraglim you came to see the Ervas Haaretz. Ervas Haaretz. What does that mean? Ervas Haaretz. What does it mean? How do you translate it?
Came to check out Times Square. I mean, that's the Pashut.
Okay, so that's what's wrong with that. Oh, you came to Mitzrayim. Check out Mitzrayim. Okay. So the Arizal says, the Arizal in his Ruach HaKodesh, he says that Yosef said to them that what you came here for is to find the place which is the most beautiful place in the world, in the world, right? This was the Fertile Crescent, and there was the economics of that time were fantastic, and there were, these tall skyscraper pyramids and whatever there was in Mitzrayim at that time. Beautiful. Everything was made out of beautiful, valuable metals, and everything was beautiful in Mitzrayim. You came to see the Ervas Haaretz. You came to be Motzi the Nitzotzos, or as you're trying to find the Kedusha here in Mitzrayim. So this is the Arizal. Okay, it could be accused of worse. But, meaning, it was like Avram Avinu that came to Mitzrayim to make it to be able to put substance behind this Mitzrayim. So Yosef was telling him, you say you're coming here for food, but you really have a whole different mission, and he might have been right about this. You really have a whole different mission in coming here, and that is that you're trying to take the beauty of Mitzrayim and really just move here and make it into something very, very substantial, which can then give meaning to this beauty. So that was the the statement, says the Arizal, that you're coming to be Malin and
accusatory.
It was accusatory in the sense that you have an agenda. What are you saying that you're coming here to?
Just the elbow. It's nakedness.
Yeah, Leroy says ervas
Take out the
haaretz.
kippah. Take out the
Right. So
kippah.
you're coming and you're seeing a beautiful erva, which means, like you say, the klipa, the external aspect of Mitzrayim. And if you look, he brings us in the psukim, even in Derech Gematria, he brings in the psukim that you're coming to bring out this
Covering it,
this
yeah.
tov.
But they came to look for Yosef also. That was their agenda.
Maybe he
Yosef
was.
is the Yaffi, right?
He
was
is.
the Yaffi,
Oh,
yeah.
and Yosef was the Yaffi, exactly. So you're coming to find the substance of Mitzrayim.
That's Yosef.
Did they come to see Yosef?
Yeah, they say that, yeah, their agenda was
And then even if they don't know it,
They said they were looking
Now,
for
well,
that's answer. That's They said we were looking for a brother. Right? They don't press answer.
and Yosef said to them at the end that Hashem did this because you thought you came here for food. You came here for me. So the omek of that conversation is that I am the substance of Mitzrayim, and I'm the one who you're really looking for. I am the nitzutz kedusha of Mitzrayim. And even when we think this is like, wow, that's way out there, Kabbalistic, it's so true. I mean, it's just so true on a very practical level that in their heart, you know how I'm just thinking, I don't know if this is right, but if you're really like bothered by something, so no matter what you do during the day, no matter your work, what are your social transactions, whatever you do during the day, if you're really bothered by something, like the repetitive thought is such, you wake up thinking about it, you go to sleep thinking about it, Daven thinking about it, like it's always there. When something is truly bothersome, it's like always there, so you try to get rid of it, and maybe some people like try to drink it away, or drug it away, or exercise it away, or whatever, but it's there, so there was something there in the minds and the hearts of the brothers of Yosef, that it was there all the time. And Yosef pointed this out. You think you're looking for food, you're not looking for food. You're looking for me. So many people think they're looking for one thing, they're really looking for another thing. It's true. You're really looking for the Leroy says Harvas Arts, but specifically Linyanenu, what's going on is that it's the superficial Mitzrayim, the same Mitzrayim that Avram Avinu, the same Mitzrayim that the same beauty of the Greeks, all of these superficial beauties. Sarah, you're an Isha Yafas Bar. By the way, that Yaakov went to look for Rachel, he saw that she was beautiful. Asma. That's why Yaakov Avinu married something. She was beautiful because he saw the potential. He saw that there was a huge amount of omek that must be discovered based on this potential. Okay, so that being said, let's look at the Gemara. Amar Rabbi Yonasan, my dechsiv, sheker achein vehevel hayofi. Let's understand the Gemara. Sheker achein zayofi. Hevel hayofi zaboyaz. Again, we have to distinguish maybe Wednesday between Boaz, what's the difference between Yosef and Boaz? So Yosef was Mashiach ben Yosef, and Boaz was Mashiach ben David.
Malchus. You said Malchus.
Yisai Malchus. So the very good. Take time to do it, you're on Baltimore. Sheker achein ze Yosef, hevel hayofi ze Boaz. Yiras Hashem hitisal ze paltz b'mayich. Let's look at the rest of the Gemara just before we leave. Davar acher sheker achein ze darish shel Moshe. Hevel hayofi ze darish shel Yeshua. Yiras Hashem hitisal ze darish shel Chizkiyahu. I'm not even going to explain. Let's leave it to explain. Davar acher, another pshat is Chazal were busy with. What were they busy with? Where do we find the juxtaposition of Yaffi and Emes, where plain Yaffi as a standalone is sheker? Where do we find a dar that was appreciated? That it was appreciated that that beauty is only skin deep, and there has to be something between those ears. There has to be something deeper in order for it to work. That's what Chazal are busy with over here. So Davar Acher, Yiras Hashem Hitisalo, Zed Dairai is just moving to me, that Yiras Hashem Hiti Salo, that it's only, you have the Yaffi and Chaim, only have a Maila if Yiras Hashem Hiti Salo, if it's cloaking a Yiras Shemayim, Zed Dairai Shah Rabbi Yehuda Bar Eloi. That Chazal, this is the Maskana of the Gemara, that this is really a description of not the generation of Moshe and Yoshua, not the generation of the Midbar, but the Dar of Rabbi Yehuda Bar Eloi. Amar Alav al Darish or Rabbi Yehuda Bar Eloi, because that was a generation. Shayushisha Talmidim Miskasim B'Talas Achas V'Yiskim B'Torah. Yehuda Bar Eloi, ended of Ayisheni, was a generation where they were so poor and they had nothing, that in order to be able to learn Torah and not freeze to death, they all had, 6 people had to gather together under one talis. The Bali Musar all say, like, 6 people stretching for a talis, how did it last? How did it didn't rip? So he says, it must be that they were all pushing it out to the other, onto the other one. It means that to them, they got to a point where the Chitzonius was just non-existent, it didn't mean anything. So Sheker Achein Behevel Ayofi, Isha Yiras Hashem Hitisal. It went to a place from there. Historically, it went to a place of Rabbi Yehuda Nasi. That's how it went to a place of Rabbi Yehuda Nasi where it was Torah Gevurah B'Makom Echad. Meaning, this was a door of Yiras Hashem Hitisal, it was a door of pure Emes. They only cared about matters of substance. But that had to grow also. It had to grow also. But we came to that place. The reason why there was such a golus of Rome, and the reason why we were so tortured and so impoverished and so in the run, like Rav Shimon Bar Yochai, just go look at that cave and understand that he was sitting there for 12 years. Just understand the bittul hayesh that's required to acquire Torah. But then you can come to the point of Mitzrayim. We come to the point of Yaffi. And that point of Yaffi is a whole different Midas HaYesod. So that's Yosef. Midas HaMalchus is a Boyaz. So the Yiras Hashem Yitzhak is not a bylaw to itself, but it's back to the basics of Avraham Avinu, Yiras Hashem Yitzhak, until it finds itself to Rabbi Yehuda Nasi, until it discovers Rabbi Yehuda Nasi.